My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's chocolate week / semi-final week.
Indeed. What a wonderful week it is. There's chocolate and bakers.
And
Chocolate.
did we mention chocolate?
Because it's chocolate week.
Look, it's a really interesting week, the semi-final, because it's a good one to watch because the quality of baking is superb. If you're a podcaster,
There's not much to talk about.
it's not the greatest week in the world because just like finding things to talk about, although you know us. We got some shit.
Look, I'll try and find tangents to take us
we
away.
got plenty of tangents to go on here, but it was just a really high quality round of baking overall.
Yeah.
It
was strong. You know, Sandra faltered a bit at the end with her mousse.
But even still, it was a really high quality.
Will now be banned from entering
Canada forever
because you faltered mousse.
Now, we started with the bit with the host to start with was, you know, they had the bits of chocolate and they were doing the, you know, which is my favourite form of chocolate. And the only reason I'm mentioning this, because it was a bit, it was there. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because they had the correct answer, which is my favourite? Is it dark, is it white, or is it milk? Notice, no ruby.
You're right. There was no ruby chocolate tonight. There was no affront to your sensibilities.
No, I had a bit of a conversation about this while the episode was happening, actually, with a couple of people who were telling me how much they like baking with ruby chocolate, and it looks so pretty. And I'm like, great, but it's an affront to anything that is decent. It's just not good.
And that's fine. But you know what? I'm reading this amazing, like, high fantasy saga at the moment.
Didn't expect to go here early, but let's go.
By Brendan Sanderson. And it's called The Stormlight Chronicles. And if you're a fan of high fantasy and also well-written high fantasy and have, like, experienced or lived with mental illness, it's a brilliant read. Like, it's just, amazing. Anyway, there was this beautiful little conversation that one character had about art. And that good art, will always have people who hate it. Because if you're trying to please everyone, it just becomes very vanilla. Well, he doesn't say vanilla because they don't have vanilla in their realm. But, you know, he's just like, you know, you get something that's boring and people don't really enjoy it, but they don't really hate it. It's just there. So, you know, ruby chocolate, I can argue because you hate it so vehemently, it is actually possibly really good to some people.
So the counter argument to that is, by your logic, you just called chocolate boring. Which... No, you just did.
There's some people who hate chocolate.
There are?
Yeah, my nephew.
And I don't really like chocolate.
He will choose a strawberry milkshake over a chocolate milkshake.
Yeah, well, he's smart. But I like dark chocolate more than I like milk. And I like white chocolate, which I know you will... No, I know.
See, that's why I know that it's probably good.
Because... Okay, hang on a minute. You have had some ruby chocolate. I brought some home for you.
Yeah, and I didn't care for it.
So you've just let out an impassioned defense of ruby chocolate. And then when I'm like, so what do you reckon? Nah.
I didn't care for it. Like, I wouldn't turn it down if it was offered again, but I didn't care for it. So perhaps, in my world, the ruby chocolate, in my high fantasy world, ruby chocolate is not good.
Ruby chocolate's not good. There, she said it, everybody. Let's move on. So, we're not going to let you go back on that. We're just going to move on. So,
mediocre.
I got what I wanted in the end. So...
Look, I'm needed for philosophical debates.
Philosophical debates because we've got some time to fill. So, a signature decorated chocolate cake, 2.5 hours. I'm going to sort of a general thought, and it's not against this. I thought they all did a really good job.
I think it was a good choice, but anyway,
it's a fine choice.
Yes,
but it's a semi-final signature.
Yeah,
and we're just making chocolate cakes.
What do you want them to make? It's chocolate week.
Yeah, I know. I'm more commenting on the idea that a chocolate cake in the semi-final. Yes. And look, these were more decorated.
And what is a signature supposed to focus on?
Yes, the use of flavours.
Exactly. So chocolate cake is a carrier, and chocolate itself is quite a strong flavour. So to actually have other flavours paired with it, or to not have the chocolate overpowering.
I mean, Dessert Week would disagree with you. Dessert Week would vehemently disagree with you on that front.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here, it's the perfect vehicle for this purpose to demonstrate the use of flavour. And we get a little bit of flair.
And we get a little bit of flair.
We get a little bit of forest floor.
I mean...
We get a little bit of Sandra's You Should See Me in a Crown chocolate cake.
I mean, Darren did say he loves everything, but he loves chocolate the most. Which is news to his partner. But... sorry.
Who I assume he calls chocolate.
Sorry that you got to learn about it that way. Also, then we cut to Rachel, who says chocolate should be the hero. Now, first of all, clean your mouth. We do not use that word here.
No. Just back away from the...
There's a couple of those. We got Laura later on gave us the words flavour bomb.
And we had a dough mould, and there was a there was a little bit of a surprise, cracking open of chocolate to reveal stuff.
There was
just one cloche away from...
There was a creep of... we were missing a bald Greek man going, good crock and boosh. Anyway, we then cut to Sandra after saying chocolate should be the hero. With her going, chocolate's an afterthought.
Yes.
I'm baking a cake. The chocolate's the afterthought.
Look, it's obviously not her favourite thing to bake with. There are other flavours she prefers.
Well,
imagine if Sandra got to do her favourite flavour week. I'm not sure what that would be.
Caribou.
Well, she's Canadian, obviously.
100%.
Every
poutine cake.
Poutine caribou.
Cheese curds. Nothing but cheese curds and gravy.
Served on a bear claw. A Tim Hortons bear claw.
There we go. Oh, all of our Canadian podcasting.
Drizzled in maple syrup.
All of our Canadian podcasting comes in handy.
Yes.
So we've been waiting all season. We finally got the references in.
We have now pissed off the Canadians.
No, we haven't. They love us. So hi Canada, by the way. I know there are some people in Canada who are listening. Adam went with a chocolate and coffee cake with tempered chocolate trees. Now, they were referred to as spooky trees, and he told this story about driving and seeing the shadows of the trees, and they look quite spooky.
As a kid, yeah.
Yeah, and to which Darren, in a very not at all robotic way, said, wow, spooky sounds terrifying.
You think robotic, I think man with, like having flashbacks. Like, I just feel like...
He was possibly haunted. Look, and by the way, that's not a criticism of Darren.
No, Darren is so pure.
I would have deadpanned it the way Darren did too.
But you know what? I reckon he saw Return to Oz and those trees that throw apples, and I think he was, like all of us 80s kids, scarred for life. Now, that's what Adam saw when he was driving, through the country and stuff. What did you picture as a kid when you were driving and staring out the window? Because we didn't have fucking iPads and shit.
No, the weirdest thing that I used to picture when we were driving was, and I've mentioned this before, but my parents once, I was trying to turn the light on in the car, the overhead light in the car, and they were like, it's against the law. And for some reason in my head, the Solomon's Carpets genie? Yes! So for some reason in my head, I pictured that inside that light was the Solomon's Carpet genie who was the law.
What?
And it was against him. And that he would judge me and come out and I don't know what he was going to do to me, like sell me a low price rug. But I legitimately, that was what I pictured. The Solomon's Carpet genie inside the overhead
banning you
light.
from buying a rug forever. You will be rugless.
Oh, I mean, look, if I was going to buy a rug, to be honest with you, there's so many stores. They're all on sale.
I know,
shipping errors. Many shipping errors.
Overstocked. Closing down sales.
As Ed Cavalier once famously said about those when they go with rug shops, due to a shipping error, just go, these aren't my rugs. I didn't order them.
I had two things. One was I'd get my finger along, fingers as if they were walking and jumping from tree to tree and mountain to mountain, whatever else.
Well, that's just crazy. I mean,
across cows.
Says the Solomon's genie law.
I know. No, wait, it gets better. And then I watched Neverending Story.
Yep.
Suddenly Falcor was out the window. Yeah, Falcor's flying along.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So there was tempered chocolate trees. It was a coffee jelly. It was an Irish liqueur buttercream. Once again, Adam maintaining the booze in a bake legacy. He's really It's flown a little bit under the radar, but not a lot, because he's had a couple of episodes where he's done a shot on camera. But nobody has boozed a bake more ever, I would suggest, than Adam. If we go back and look at the tape, and let's face it, I do, Adam is probably the most severe...
He's the beer baron of the shed, really.
Yeah, exactly.
He's walking around with a new hat going, look at me.
I have a new hat. We then cut to Laura, who does great work on behalf of production by talking about what a wonderful day to bake with these beautiful products. So, Smeg, ka-ching! Moving on.
Thank you, sponsors. We do love you.
We love you. We love you, Smeg, and we love you, Lurpak, and we love everybody else. The
Murray
salt
River
flakes.
salt.
Oh, we love a Murray River salt flake.
I want to find out what the flavour, like not the flavour.
Salt? Salt flavoured.
No, there's like little the fucking dyes. I need to know.
You know the dyes? We'll go back and have a look at the dyes.
Yeah.
White Wings, we love you, White Wings. They've got little packets of them. There's so many sponsors.
And thank you.
Well, thank you all again. We then cut to Alona. So she's making a chocolate hazelnut ganache, a sour cherry jam. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning those first is because, as we know, Alona has developed a really good devil's food cake.
Yeah.
Now, she made it twice earlier in the series, and they said to her after the second one, which she didn't have to make it, but she decided she was making that again, you should probably make a different cake in the future.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, did she go too hard too early on the devil's food cake? Because she then had to vary away. And when I say had to, they made several references in this. One here and one in the judging that they wanted a different chocolate cake.
I think it was possibly made a bigger deal of than, like, in anticipation of the audience thinking it was going to be a big deal. I feel like it's kind of... it's kind of like... I think something... Like, it's attacking an ant with a mallet. You know, like, I think it's like... It is a problem. It's annoying, like an ant, you know. But we're kind of coming down hard on it.
I thought... So it was really interesting, and it's not criticising anyone because you pick flavours that you like. Yeah. You know, we'll reference it later, but we'll talk about it now. I don't think I've seen a baker use strawberries more than Adam, who has done a strawberry jam, strawberry puree, strawberries in agar more than I have ever seen in a series. Now, that's not a criticism because he's done it very well and he's done slight variations on the theme.
Yeah.
But you didn't get anyone saying to Adam, oh, you've used strawberries again for the fourth time. You should probably do something a bit different. If she wants to keep making that cake, that's on her, and it's on her to make it stand out. Having said that, they really did like the recipe she picked for this cake.
Yeah.
They thought it was lighter and they thought it worked really well. But in this one here, so she went with very fiddly decorations was how she was going to do this. Yep. So tempered chocolate butterflies. And then the idea, and we'll talk about how it was executed in a bit, of the hazelnuts covered in a layer of chocolate, which she said she was going to use her hairdryer on. And everyone went, okay. And then later on we'll get step by step as to how that happened.
Which I thought was an interesting choice.
Well, Neil did it.
Yeah, but no, didn't he have...
He had a heat gun eventually.
Heat gun.
But yeah, but that's what he's been practicing with.
Yeah, I'm like... Surely when you know that you could got access to a heat gun, you'd just be like, fuck the hairdryer.
No, she stole it from the service departments.
No, she borrowed it from the service department.
Well, maybe we'll have to find out if it went back.
If you return it, like...
If you know, for example, when you borrow someone's car and you don't know who they are, but you borrow their car for 3 or 4 weeks and then return it, that's...
Yeah, but that person who you've borrowed it from, right, doesn't have your name and address and credit card details.
They've got a name and address and credit card. It's not mine, but they've got one. I'd like to stress, I always leave a license. Never mine, but I leave one.
It's your pen license.
Remember, we talked about this on the podcast.
You never got one.
I got my pen license at the end of year 6 out of pity. on an agreement that I would try my hardest to not write badly.
Oh, look, dyspraxia is a thing.
No, I'm a left-handed person who just smudged and had poor motor skills. Anyway.
All right, you sinister folk.
Anyway,
and
Laura.
your excuses.
So Laura was going with a Black Forest floor cake.
You should have just learnt to paint cuneiform like the Chinese. There'd be no smudges. Like just.
It was always going to be hieroglyphs. Anyway,
Okay.
Chantilly cream.
Just need yourself a chisel and some stone.
I tried, but they wouldn't let me. Chantilly cream, balsamic cherry jelly, and then we got the question from Rachel of, well, what does the Black Forest floor look like? And she thought she was being really cool, but you can go on Google and look at the Black Forest, and it just
It's a
looks
nice place to take a walk.
a lovely place to take a walk in the Black Forest. Any Goodies fans out there right now are going yes and cheering.
Were you tempted at uni to like
Probably not. I was
write in hieroglyphics or like not even write, but like friggin' like chisel in hieroglyphics? Like you just be ting 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 ting. ting,
for the benefit of the podcast, yes.
Excellent.
For reality, no. But for the benefit of the podcast, yep. Chiseling was all I wanted to do.
just whatever kind of like.
Is chiseling what cold chisel fans call going to their concerts? What are you doing? We're chiseling.
This is before. No. Cold chisel fans would knock your head in if you dared to
Chiseling.
try and call them something.
Hi everybody, we're off chiseling.
We're not Swifties. We're not. They're not standing anything.
BTS
Cold chisel-
Army.
Yeah.
What are we doing, everybody? Oh, it's Saturday night. We're going chiseling.
God.
No. Chiseling. How about chiseling isn't going to a cold chisel concert? Chiseling is going to karaoke and only singing cold chisel songs.
You can do that.
There we go.
Modern
What are we
times,
gonna do?
if you're
All right.
a cold chisel stand.
All right, everybody, let's chisel.
Yes.
Let's go chiseling. Now, anyway, that ignores the question here. What does the Black Forest floor look like? The answer is a normal forest. Sorry to disappoint.
Well, a very standard European forest.
Yes, which is, yeah, exactly.
Trees, dirt, rocks, green leaves.
A log, that's kind of it. Again, the Goodies just moving through
A
briskly.
strange little man trying to tempt your children away from the local village.
That's normal.
A cabin made of lollies.
Somewhere between 1 to 4 Billy Goat's gruff. Yes. Now, we then come back to Adam, simply so he could say...
Random tower with a damsel who's in desperate need of a haircut.
Maiden without a heel. Anyway, moving on.
She who's bordering on like anemic. She is that pale. She's just
Children staggering from an oven. Anyway.
hair. Glossy black though, those lips. Oh, cherry red.
Amazing.
Be careful or Adam might go along and go, ooh, strawberry, and try and pluck her lips off. They're that red.
7 unionised miners and their help. Anyway, moving on. We did cut back to Adam, literally, so we could...
Animals forming a union, trying to get some bargaining power for domestic service.
Carry coats away. I can just imagine their picket line. Nobody crosses the Robins picket line. Nobody.
Fucking done by chipmunks and squirrels.
On second thoughts, I don't want to go to the Black Forest. It's a unionised hellhole.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, there's people dying. There's children being baked. The miners are on strike. The birds are on strike.
The huntsman's just trying to get some random heart to throw in a box.
There's a fucking deer that's dead and its fucking child is there going, help me, help me.
Yes, I don't think it was the hunter shooting Bambi's mum. I think it was the huntsman who's gone, I need a heart to prove I didn't kill Snow White. and Bambi's like, all my mum did was fucking help this girl with her domestic chores for these
We've been in
dwarves.
servitude and now you shoot her.
Yes. Take her heart for what? It's just this uprising of the workers of the forest.
And then there's a wolf that comes back wearing a hood going, don't know what you're talking about. It's cleaning its teeth. Anyway, we cut back to Adam. As I said 5 minutes ago before we went on this weird tangent, who just simply said, no one's ready for this jelly.
No.
He just had that ready.
Yep. He was
There's a
ready.
lot of build-up
He
for
was
that.
ready for the ready jelly.
There was a lot of build-up for that line for absolutely no payoff because instead we unionised the forest. Anyway, we then cut to Sandra who just goes, we have a bunt!
Would you like to call it a bunt?
A bunt. Then she was
What's this
tempering.
all a bunt?
Then she started tempering chocolate. So, chocolate ganache,
Canadian reference.
chocolate ganache and banana caramel. and she was tempering dark chocolate because, as she said, we all know that dark chocolate is the easiest of the chocolates to temper. True. But we then cut, and like some of them have got it over a boiler and stuff like that, and we see in the background Alona at the microwave.
Yes.
And your heart sang.
Yes, I'm like, there she is in a sweet disposition, avoiding the temper trap, using the microwave, and I was here for it. Well done, Alona. I had to get some...
Well done. A modern reference in
Yeah.
to prove we're not that old.
Yeah.
Please listen to the Ream interview. Anyway.
Oh, God, no. Please. I don't know what comes over me when I talk to young people these days.
Kristie's coping with young people is to make herself sound 95.
I think it's less about me at this age being intimidated. It's more like my 15-year-old self just comes to the fore. And, like, if you think I'm awkward now, Jesus, bloody Christ.
Anyway,
then.
So Adam was then making trees. Alona was making the butterflies. And then Adam went back to making the collar.
Yes.
Then Laura was tempering some more bits of chocolate. Sandra was doing the crown. So we had a bit of tempering. Adam was looking for what he called a hit of adult coffee flavour, which again is just code for booze.
And, you know, now that Adam's made the collar and he's collaring his cake, we now know he's a top.
We're going to briskly move on. So Alona...
Say that.
We're going to briskly move on. Alona was preparing...
Laughing.
Alona was preparing the hairdryer from
You're
above.
welcome.
So Alona was preparing the hairdryer from above. So she got up on the chair and like Cal's going, you what? And she gets up on the chair and then she starts blow drying the chocolate. Now at this point, Cal compared it to a short art students film.
Which would say a short ass students film.
Sure. But...
Have you ever been in a student film?
No.
I have.
Yes, I know.
I was a cannibal. I was a femme fatale
Yeah,
cannibal.
but what were you in the film? Anyway.
I was just playing real life.
Anyway, so Cal compared it to a short art student film. However, big question because we missed out on that science this week. I'm assuming they went semi-final, you can't do it. Bullshit, you could have done it. By the time we got to... Look, to be blunt, by the time we got to the showstopper, Sandra knew that unless something really went left...
Yeah.
It was probably over for her. You could have done that science. You could have got one in there. But more importantly, why does Cal only care about safety when it's Sandra? She didn't care. Alona's up on a chair. She's got a hairdryer. There's so much that can go wrong. Cal's just like, oh, that's really cool.
I'm just imagining like maybe Cal is dead like me. Remember how she could see the catastrophe coming and she couldn't see any catastrophes happening. Like, there's Alona on a stool. It's a perfect setup, holding a hairdryer. All she needed was like a bathtub underneath her. It would have been the perfect setup. But no, it's not the obvious potential disaster that is happening. Although I now have to wonder what the actual OH&S person on set, what they had to go through. Like, what did Alona have to do? Like, waivers signed?
What they actually did was they went in post and they edited out the 4 harnesses.
Ah, yes. And the green screen.
Yeah, like it was a harness. It was a whole thing.
Stunt double stepping in.
Look, the long and the short of this was they all worked. Anyway, judging. Alona. Listen, the butterflies were intricate. Another pointed comment about trying a new one of her cakes, which I thought was, again, too much. You made the point. Move on.
But if you saw when she was piping those butterflies, beautiful shine.
Yeah, and that's what they said. They were spectacular.
Yeah.
Darren loved the sponge. Hazelnuts were a little bit messy. But Nat then came over and took the butterfly because it was rare.
Yes. And then started singing to it. Speaking of Disney princesses.
Drink, by the way, because I'm counting that as foraging for food, although later on they foraged a lot more efficiently. Sandra, Sandra was worried she hadn't done enough, and then they referred to it as a beast of a cake. So... they loved the crown. They did say the cake was a little bit dense in spots. The caramel was fantastic. And at this point they said, less is more in this case. And I think, look, poor Sandra, a couple of times this season they've sort of dinged her for not doing quite enough decoration-wise.
Yeah.
So this time she went overboard and they went, pull it back. And it's a hard balancing act. Yeah. Laura, they said it looked awesome. The texture was quite moist in the cake. Flavours were excellent. The cherry jelly with the balsamic left a freshness they said was really good. And Adam, Darren really liked the look of it. It was slightly undersweet, which in this case meant it was well balanced. The jelly added another dimension, and they said there was a really nice snap to the tempered chocolate.
Yeah.
So
It was snappy.
we then move on to the technical.
Like a nappy.
Did you say snappy like a nappy?
Like the old, like the new ones, the ones that have snaps on them because they're reusable and environmentally friendly.
I have very limited access to nappies. Anyway.
So do I.
Anyway, techs. So they said that this year, this technical was going to be a blank page, and you had to read the judges' weird, twisted minds.
Ooh.
I like that idea. I want to see what they would have come up with.
I'm now envisioning that they had to then do like in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, yes.
Get out of your head. No, I like it.
No, I'm turning the card over right now and we match.
Yes.
Just
amazing.
a couple of wavy lines. I'm sorry, this isn't your lucky day. I was gonna say 8:00. Anyway, the actual challenge, they said that it was set by both of them, which is a first. It's a first.
Collab. I love it.
Yeah, we've not seen the judges set the technical together. So
we got DeRachel. Because it's like Darren
I
and
was
Rachel.
I was interested that they did it in the semi-final, not the final. We didn't do a joint final.
Or is it Rachin?
Rachin?
Raren? Is it
Daryl.
Coochis?
Daryl.
Daryl.
Anyway,
Daryl.
So make it snappy and don't go breaking our hearts. Now, when they left, that was where Cal gave the joke of, the judges want hearts. And that would like courage. And if you got time, I could do with a brain.
See, then what they should have said was, they're gone off to do their favourite Kiki D and Elton John duet because don't go breaking my heart.
They could have gone. They've gone off to do their favourite Elton John duet and then done "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me" with George Michael.
Yeah, that's true.
Just to sort of change it up. Anyway, so the tempered chocolate heart with the petit fours inside. So the tempered chocolate heart was a marbled white chocolate heart. 2 petit fours, 2 different types of petit fours.
Can we call them petit fours?
Go for it. You can call it whatever you want to.
Excellent.
So, now,
they are.
Rachel's was based on Swedish biscuits, chocolat biscuit. So, we'll come back to how everyone pronounced that one, which is basically a macaroon with buttercream and tamari in there for a coup twist.
Yes.
Darren with salted caramel cups and tempered dark chocolate.
Look, I'm really glad that no one misunderstood and we're trying to bake and then coat the French president.
Macron. Close. So close. Now.
Because that joke never gets old.
No.
And we really need to keep doing it.
Exactly. So we then come back to the biscuit.
Or they really misread it and suddenly they have Adam Levine there.
Anyway, so it was chocolat biscuit.
Yeah.
But we then got biscuit, and my favourite pronunciation, bisque beaver.
Bisque beaver. I'm touching and going like, is that the French?
Thanks, Sandra.
Is that Justin Bieber's like French name?
The bisque beaver. Yes.
Yeah. Bisque beaver is better than one. Okay, that's a How I Met Your Mother reference.
Now the
back at the ranch.
Now the macaroons just had to bake until lightly golden, and they did.
Yes.
We then cut back and they're tempering the chocolate, and now everybody has a microwave.
Yeah.
Again, you're sweeping the world.
Well, look, I'm sure I wouldn't have been the first person to do it, but I didn't actually see it before I did it. I'm just kind of melting chocolate.
And we've talked about this a number of times on the podcast. It tempers beautifully in a microwave.
Yeah, because all you got to do is heat it up and then cool it down.
You got to speed it up and then you slow it down, and then if you believe that a love can hit the top, you got to play around. Then you find if you got the time, you're making your chocolate up.
Thank you.
I was not expecting Bucks Fizz.
I
wasn't expecting to quote Bucks Fizz tonight, but there we are. And then everyone just sort of did the bake. We did get the bit with Cal where Alona was tempering her heart, and she's like, "I've never seen the inside of a heart before. It's simpler than surgeons would have you believe. Not a ventricle inside."
I think one of the little things that I loved about this particular bake is that it was then up to, like, they just gave a little bit of creativity kind of for the bakers to choose what colours they would use to swirl in the heart. And everyone's looked beautiful with what they chose, and like I bloody loved Adam's, that pop of blue through it.
That little pop of blue was beautiful.
Laura's looked like a sunset.
Yeah, I like, and even though it broke, like Sandra's looked really
gorgeous.
They all came up with beautiful designs. The marbling was perfect on all of them, even if Alona's didn't quite temper to the same level, so it was a bit duller.
Yeah.
So you didn't get the shine on it. It still looked amazing.
Yeah. If you served that, you wouldn't turn your nose up at it.
Unless you were Darren and Rachel, they did. But
they're paid to do that.
they're paid to turn their noses up.
In a really nice, kind
Exactly.
way.
The key to this challenge was basically turning out the hearts.
Yes.
And they all worked except Sandra's. And we'll get to the judging now, but in the judging they basically said to Sandra that you did such a really fine job on the temper. But that also left it susceptible to cracking.
A hole in the heart. And you know what a hole in the heart does?
It can only be filled by you, I know that much.
Oh, it could lead you to China.
Oh,
There's
God.
a deep dive.
That's a deep dive.
Big Trouble in Little China, folks.
That's a deep dive. That's
Yeah,
a very
yeah.
deep... Kurt Russell for the win. Anyway.
But it was a Cyndi Lauper song, so I was
Yes.
there for it.
Judgment. So, Alona. Notice how there's not much here, but literally because they just did the bake really well.
Yeah.
Alona. It wasn't super shiny. The marbling was really good. They couldn't get through the shell. It was a little bit too thick. Gave Darren the chance to say maybe Rachel's heartbreaking days are over. The cups looked very neat. Good tempering on that chocolate. Perfect caramel. The chocolate had a great snap, but again, this overall shell was a little bit too thick. Adam, I love the colour. Great shine on the heart. The cups were thin. The chocolate was well tempered and well made, and the heart was beautifully tempered.
Yep.
Laura, the shine looked professional. Very fine chocolate on those cups, which is a good thing. The caramel was good, but it was approaching the dark side. But the thing is, as Darren has said this a number of times, he likes a slightly darker caramel.
You know what that caramel had done? He'd gone to Dagobah.
Yes.
He'd gone under a tree, had a really weird experience, but still came out okay.
Yes.
You know, still kept with the Jedi
Exactly.
Master and following the teachings of the Jedi Order. And
The chocolats were neat, and a good ratio of biscuit to cream in those. And Sandra.
Yep.
The hole in the top, which was unfortunate. The cups were very salty on top, but the salt inside the caramel was perfect. They also said that the chocolate was not quite as snappy as Rachel's was. The heart was super fine, but that was kind of the problem. So
I now want to know what silver salt is. Is it just silver, like foil and salt mixed together, or is it like mined from the silver salt mines of
Dagobah? Anyway. Speak up the dark side of the caramel.
yeah.
So, Sandra, Alona, Laura.
Just imagine Yoda making his like little soup and just sprinkling a little bit of that silver salt in it.
So, Sandra, Alona, Laura,
Season you, I will.
and then Adam. And Adam...
Added too much, I have. Where's my Dagobah potato? Take some of the salt out.
Thank you, Grover. Anyway,
No. Mushrooms, no.
moving on.
I've been banned from mentioning mushrooms on the podcast tonight.
Yes, she has been. Moving on. Adam wins his 4th technical challenge of the series. Now, we did a bit of a recount, obviously. Adam is now tied all-time in Australian Bakeoff 2nd on the list, with 1 challenge to go, might I add.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
if he gets the technical next week.
He ties the lead. So we've
Yeah.
got Sunny, Angela... Sunny, who won 2 seasons ago, Angela, who was in season 1 on Foxtel, and Adam are all tied on 4 technical wins.
Yep.
Ella has the record with 5.
And I think we worked out she was either the overall she held it or someone had got 6.
No, it's her.
It's her.
It's
okay,
her.
cool. It is.
So
Excellent.
it's Ella on 5, and then Sunny, Angela, and Adam all on 4. Adam with 1 to play.
So there we are. Commonwealth Games. We've got our technical strength
So,
right there.
interestingly enough, of those, the only
Technical
baker...
relay. Oh my
The
god.
only baker that hasn't made the final out of those was Angela in season 1 on Foxtel. She got knocked out in the semi-final.
Oof. Yeah.
So she won 4 technicals, one episode and did one episode less than everyone else.
Wow.
So yeah, like she's done really well there.
Yeah.
So on to the showstopper, the mirror glazed cake collection. Now that just sounds like something you're advertising on, like, you know, shopping channels.
Yeah, or actually, yeah. Hello, welcome to TVSN, and tonight
We've just finished the Enjoy Gently, and now it's time for us to have our latest treat.
Yeah, it's the mirror glazed cake collection.
Oh.
And I just want to show you my favourite here that I'm wearing as a beautiful pendant. But not only can it be a pendant, you can snap it in half. It also becomes earrings.
Oh.
And then you snap those in half, it becomes a bracelet.
Oh, can you have a brooch?
And yes, if you snap it in half 2 more times, you get brooches. 4 more times, you've got yourself a new vibrator. It's very, very versatile.
Now, if I package that with the Enjoy Gently, do I get a discount?
Of course you do. You get 15% off if you also buy 4 of them for your nearest and dearest.
There's a lot of people out there that don't know what those shopping channels actually are, and, you know, they think we're just and we are, but, you know...
We are mental, but we're also parodying them pretty well because...
They've always come over from England and they've got nothing better to do with their time than sell people useless tat and Enjoy Gentlies.
Yes, yeah. It's just, you know...
For those who don't know, the Enjoy Gently is a very weird version of a razor. It's just wheels that pluck the hair painlessly.
Yeah, that's not gently at all.
No, not at all. Anyway, so the Mirror Glazed Cake Collection. 10 individual cakes, so 2 lots of 5.
Yeah.
They had to be different shapes and different flavours. So, Rachel says that she's looking for a super glossy mirror glaze. Now, look, we've a couple of times we've pointed out where Rachel's bits to camera have been obvious.
Yeah.
This is probably the most obvious one we've seen.
But I think I know why. We started the season with Guillermo, right? We know who Guillermo's associated with.
We do.
Now, I'm not saying that perhaps the shed was under attack by vampires because it was daylight outside.
Yes.
But there are day walkers. I don't know if they can be seen in the mirror. But if you've got a mirror glaze there, I mean, surely that will also...
That is a question. How does a vampire make mirror glazed cakes?
Well, technically, right, the law was silver is poison to vampires and werewolves and everything, right?
Well, that means they couldn't have eaten the technical because of the silver salt.
Yeah, so I'm now seeing...
Was this whole thing a ruse to flesh out vampires?
Yeah, I'm surprised the first bake didn't involve garlic. Like, you know, mesh this chocolate with garlic. Maybe the water they had available was holy water. Maybe they're just all holy eggs because they couldn't get water. They don't use water in cakes, but the holy eggs. But maybe there was, anyway. So the actual thing is that the olden mirrors were backed by silver and that's why vampires couldn't see it. So technically they could be seen in modern mirrors. But that just doesn't play well with funnies.
Anyway, they had 4.5 hours. So it's a really interesting thing with this one too, because remember when we had Alona made the second time she made the devil's food cake?
Yes.
And she made the same cake for 2 bakes.
Yes.
And we said that they probably should have really specified in the brief. Alona went out of her way this time to do 2 completely different things. And they were like, oh, that's a bit of a risk. And I'm like, I think she's probably got PTSD from the time you said you didn't do things different enough. So she says she was excited, nervous, overwhelmed, and happy. Mm-hmm. Now, she was going with an apricot jelly and a mango mousse with dark chocolate. Mm-hmm. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have a hit on the drinking game. Yuzu lemon cheesecake with white chocolate.
Finally, you're all tipsy as fuck by this point.
There were a couple of others. So the drinking game card this week, for people who weren't playing along, what are you doing, first of all? Play along, damn it. Play along. So much more fun. Yuzu, hit.
If you don't want to drink, cheesels.
This is our hardest decision. They didn't actually say that. I turned my back for a minute, disaster. Didn't have one. Cal and Nat successfully forage leftovers. In this challenge, they mastered that.
Yeah.
This is my week. No
Cal
one
twice.
was...
I think it's the double shot right there.
Yes.
Triple shot because both.
They have, yeah. They were.
Cal did it twice.
Well, Nat ran off with trees and other things too.
God, you're just... Yeah.
Lots of foraging.
Yeah.
Chocolate
not for
tempering.
mushrooms.
Chocolate tempering issue. We didn't actually have an issue with the temper.
No.
We had a thickness issue with a couple
Maybe
of
with
them.
the loner, because her heart wasn't tempered as well.
Yeah, but it wasn't really a massive issue. It's closest you get. If you wanted to drink on that one, go for it.
Yeah.
Matcha, of course. We didn't have a hit. Darren correctly predicts future issues. He didn't say it beforehand. He said afterwards. He said one, but it wasn't. He didn't future predict it, so no. And a Bernard sighting, which was the next thing, because they had, doing it. She had photos, and she says, "I'll do it for Bernard." And if you've seen our social media today,
Yes.
I had too much time on my hands and made the "do it for her" Simpsons meme, but with pictures of Bernard. So go onto our Instagram if you want to have a look at that. I put too much work into that. Please enjoy it. We then cut to Sandra, who's making a white chocolate mousse raspberry jelly red glaze, and then a passion fruit biscuit base with a tropical theme.
And I think Sandra was in on it too, because she's like, "Oh, if we want to coax the vampires into the shed, maybe I make a mirror glaze that looks like blood."
That's possibly it.
Because as she was pouring, I did have flashbacks to the end of Carrie, the original 1970s.
You really did, yes. You were like, Carrie!
I'm obsessed with some Stephen King at the moment. It's fine.
At this point, Adam broke out the strawberries. I'm sure he's got a deal.
Big strawberry.
Big strawberries in the big plum, nowhere to be seen this season.
No, not a...
Big strawberry, on the other hand, surreptitiously everywhere.
Yeah. There's not enough bloody Davidson plum around.
Then meanwhile, Alona was celebrating
That's
the joy.
a shame. You really need more Davidson plum in your life. I can't
Stress this enough.
Can't stress this enough, people.
I don't know why you've
Dehydrated.
suddenly become a bandit.
They're just great,
And I need to also bring
if
something
you
up.
want a nice drink of a perfume with a single plum floating in it, that's
I need to bring something else.
Davidson plum instead.
I need to bring something else up here too, which I think is very important that we mention it, because
They're great for breakfast. Is that what you're going to say?
no. Okay, so moving away
Brunch?
from the Davidson plum moving away from the Davidson plum for a moment.
no,
I know Big Plum has had a conversation with you,
I don't know what you're talking about.
so I do. Anyway, Big Plum is life, Big Plum is love. But moving away from that for a minute, because if I don't mention this, the Canadians are never going to stop bombarding me with the baseball team in Saskatoon,
Yeah.
who have called themselves the Saskatoon Berries.
What? No!
And their mascot's a Saskatoon Berry.
Do they only play with balls that look like Saskatoon berries?
I don't know that. I'm scared to ask. But I have had no fewer than 7 of the Canadian bakers or listeners. Rosie, I'm looking at you. But I've had, no fewer than 7 of them
This is a ruse.
who have sent me.
I feel sorry for that baseball team. Here are some hardworking sports people who've gotten together. They've started this team, and good old Saskatoon Berries, and we know how legit those business people are, have obviously come in to sponsor them. They've named their team after them. All this free advertising. They won't see $1. There'll be nothing. They'll be
we know all about this.
Yeah.
We've experienced this. Firsthand, obviously. Go back and listen to our Virgies. So
No.
it's a batting Saskatoon Berry.
Berries don't have arms.
I love the way the Saskatoon Berry has a weird fringe sticking through the back of the baseball cap, like they've got hair. I mean, to be fair,
they do.
they're an invented berry. They can have whatever they want.
Could they be the leaves? They've got leaf hair and leaf hands holding a baseball bat.
I will post the image of this onto the Insta and Twitter, just so people who haven't seen this can see it. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to our Canadian episodes. It makes a lot more sense.
I mean, it'll be really handy at their canteen or their kiosk, because if they're selling Saskatoon berry products, all they have to do is just take the label off the
Blueberries that they've just soaked in some raspberry juice. Yep. Anyway, Adam. So for Adam, it was peanut butter jelly time, but with a strawberry gel in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then chocolate brownie base with a pear mousse. And at this point, Darren Purchase puts no pressure on him whatsoever by going, I'm kind of known for my pear cake.
Yeah.
And Adam just goes, yes.
He says it though in the sweetest way.
It is. It's lovely.
It's
I'm known for that.
charming.
I'm known for that. And Adam's like, yep, I know.
Darren Purchase is taking a walk in the Black Forest, but he's 10 feet behind and 10 feet below. He's just that charming.
He is.
Careful, bakers' wives. Careful.
Look out. This is also where
Musical theatre fans are
they laugh. TT is dying of laughter right now.
Yeah, everyone else is like, what the fuck? Into the Woods.
Yes. Anyway.
Watch the 1980s.
Watch the Broadway production of it. Don't watch the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nat raises the smooth or crunchy peanut butter debate. It's not really a debate. It's crunchy.
It's crunchy. And you know why? I was never allowed crunchy when we were kids. We always had to have smooth, and I don't know why.
Why were you not allowed?
We weren't allowed.
Forbidden? Someone stood in front of it and went,
My mum would refuse downright to buy crunchy peanut butter. So now these days, it's all crunchy all the time.
The woman who made chicken stroganoff and most importantly of all, let a duck bleed on the table.
Banned us. I told
Drew the line at crunchy peanut butter.
Yeah, apparently that was a step too far.
Bleeding duck?
Bleeding duck,
Not a problem.
Blowing up chicken?
Nah.
Do that.
Crunchy peanut butter? Back off.
Get out of here.
She was a complex woman, that woman. Anyway.
I'm sure she had her reasons.
I don't know why.
I'll have to get out the Ouija board.
We'll find out. We'll get her as a guest.
Oh, God.
Or Ouija all the time. Laura used a total... I love this story about her childhood. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I took from it was that she was only allowed to say the words chocolate malt drink.
Not Milo.
Could have been Nesquik, but it's Milo.
Nesquik, but Milo. Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of the hot Nesquik.
I mentioned before,
yeah,
I wasn't a fan of either.
The Ovaltine, though. Hot Ovaltine.
I didn't like Ovaltine either.
Oh, wow.
I was on long black coffees from very early.
You just came out of the womb.
I had a mug.
Hit me, doctor.
I had a mug at my grandmother's, which is where I started drinking long black coffee. Ironically enough, she was a tea drinker, so it's her fault. But
was
I don't
it
know
one
why.
of the fucking what's it called? The bunnies?
No, better.
Yeah.
It was a white mug. I reckon it was one that they'd had since the late 60s.
Uh-huh.
And it had a picture on the side of it of a beloved Australian television character.
Oh, no.
Skippy.
Oh, Skippy. You had a Skippy
It was
mug.
a white mug with a picture of Skippy and written under it in red, Skippy.
Oh, good.
It was my mug.
Okay, Skip.
Anyway.
Did you just walk in the door and you're like... And Grandma's like, no, prob, Skip. I'll get you a double long black. Because that'll get you to kindergarten.
No. Anyway, so a malt base with raspberry jelly.
Yes.
And then a chocolate and wattle seed brownie with chocolate and coffee mousse on top of it for the other one.
Yum.
Now, and
Wattle seed is such a good flavour. I just want more Indigenous ingredients.
It's been brilliant. It's been great to see.
Like Davidson plum.
They also did, so I've also mentioned before,
Davidson plum.
I've mentioned before that I like watching Sorted Food on YouTube. They did their big Wild Weekender thing over the weekend. And one of the packages they got sent was a care package of Australian spices, including wattle seed.
Oh, brilliant.
So it was really good to watch. It's on pay-per-view, unfortunately, so, unless you're paying for it.
Oh my God. And on that, okay, if you're boning up to go on Bakeoff and you want to know your citruses, what's it called? Epicurious have got a whole episode
they do.
On citruses, and they go into finger lime. Hold on.
Rephrase.
They discuss finger lime as well. But it's a really good episode. I highly recommend it.
So, so we got the choc wattle seed brownie with chocolate and coffee mousse, and we got the malt base with the raspberry jelly. So Sandra was using caramel, chocolate, and white buttons, and they went, "I never had caramel before. I've had caramel buttons." What I was really pleased with was there was a risk that we were going to see the dreaded carob.
Oh my love, I have a feeling that much like the crunchy peanut butter is like a step too far in my household, I feel like carob would be a step too far for the food team at Bakeoff. I don't think I've seen carob. I could be incorrect, but from my very fallible memory, I have never seen carob appear on Bakeoff. It's possible because it's a shit ingredient and it should be like fucking banned from all circles.
I mean, yes, it should. The healthy chocolate.
Yeah,
no, you know what you can have? Chocolate.
It's just shit house. It's just Maybe it's a shit house ingredient to cook with as well. I was going to say to dance with.
No, carob is terrible, and no one should ever use carob.
Two left feet.
Thank you, Bakeoff, for avoiding carob.
Yes.
Really appreciate that.
And bakers.
Now, this is where they also said about,
Do people still eat that shit today?
I don't know.
Like, it was very popular in the 80s and early 90s.
I'm sure somebody does. So this is where they asked about...
Probably my friend Emma. She liked it.
This is where they ask about making a Canadian-style bake, and this is where Sandra, quick as a flash, turns around and goes, well, I couldn't fit a moose in a ring mould. Caribou, on the other hand, we've seen it on Canadian Bake-Off. You could do that.
You can fit a caribou in there.
Now, this is where Cal and Nat foraged really efficiently. When they came over and were like, what bits can we have? And Laura's like, oh, you got the corner bit. So Nat picks up the corner bit, then Cal comes over and goes, this is my second bit.
Yeah. And I do like Nat's impersonation of Darren enjoying the corner bit. Like,
yes.
Just the thumbs up
Mastered
and the
that.
smile, yeah.
Then we made the glaze, and everyone was watching temperatures, and that all worked. And then they demolded,
Yep.
and that all worked. And then they glazed. Alona's looked thick to start with, and that came back in the judging a little bit. Adam's looked like it was from Fallout.
I loved Adams.
It was absolutely brilliant. The neon and the purple and the green and it was just...
I did love that everyone's... So my interpretation, I'm like, oh my God, they're Mardi Gras floats ready to happen.
See, Adam's other ones were Mardi Gras floats.
Yeah.
The ones from Fallout looked like it was a rad scorpion sort of...
kind of look, yeah.
Can't tell what I've been playing lately.
No.
So Sandra then tried to, as in her words, make them look sophisticated in order to hide the issues.
Yes. Look, I hope you get let back into Canada. I'm assuming the quality of moose will be raised, and yeah, I'm deliberately misrepresenting what kind of moose
exactly
Canadians would be upset about.
And then we finish off with Adam. Yes. So he finishes his bakes.
Yes.
Then he runs over to Alona and helps Alona finish all of hers. Mm-hmm. Then he sprints over to Sandra as her mousse collapses and is helping Sandra finish getting them on the plate. Yeah. Then he sprints back to Alona at the end to finish off that as well. Yeah. So, he spent probably, I reckon, the last 5 minutes of the bake just running between Alona and Sandra trying to get them over the line.
Which is really lovely, but I've just had an ADHD thought, right?
Of course you've just had an ADHD thought.
So, you never see moose in a zoo. I was thinking to myself, I've never seen a live moose. I hope to one day. But, you see, it just weirds me out when I see, people with pet cockatoos and pet kangaroos and stuff over in other countries. Hearing that there's kangaroos in a Denmark zoo. I understand, we have fucking polar bears and shit in our zoos and stuff too. But there's no moose. Why are we mooseless? We haven't even got a caribou.
I'm sure there's caribou and moose.
We're caribou-less.
Caribou-less?
And mooseless. And maybe they won't survive transportation. Maybe they just can't get a passport. They're all criminals and get denied access at the border. Just the criminal cartel that is moose and caribou.
I'm literally looking to see if there's any place...
I'm assuming caribou are the Calabrians. I'm sorry, the legitimate business people of Canada.
So it's judgment time, and I'm sure there's a lot of judging going on right now off the back of that conversation, but let's get into the judging of this challenge.
Okay.
Adam, spooky theme again, very shiny. Cal refers to them as adorable amoeba.
Accurate. Very accurate.
The glaze was very thin in the best way possible.
Yes. I'm particularly getting the multicolours, that was pretty cool.
Amazing. The way they did that, and then when he did the swirl on top, you go, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, it was very galaxy.
The fruit lifted it. The pear was absolutely perfect. Mm-hmm. And they said that the peanut butter and strawberry combination in the other one was really lively. And they didn't comment on just how pink. You can tell this was filmed way before the Barbie movie, because there would have been Barbie references everywhere. Alona. Now, the dark chocolate glaze Darren could see himself in. They did say the dark chocolate ones were neat. The apricot helped to balance the thicker glaze for Rachel, but not quite for Darren. He didn't think it balanced as well. But that was that one that looked like it was thick when it went on. Yeah. It was really thick. However, the yuzu one, the yuzu was really well set, perfectly balanced with the cheesecake mousse. It was very bright and it was very fresh. Then Sandra. Very tropical feel. Yes. They did say that the slices struggled, but the glaze was perfect.
Yep.
The tropical was well designed, but extremely sweet because, as Darren said, gold caramel chocolate is really tricky.
Yeah.
And so that can be really sickly if you use too much of it. So getting that balance right. The white chocolate mousse worked really well.
Even from what I understand with the gold caramel chocolate, it's like white chocolate that's been
sweetened.
Oh, and like
condensed milk.
Oh, okay, yeah, like kind of like taken and cooked.
Yes, it's sort of like a burn, a bit burnish.
Okay.
When I use that word deliberately for a listener for the podcast because they commented to me today that they haven't heard the word burnished all season. So
you know what? Randomly today, I was at a clinic and I heard a word that I thought only I used because of Jane Austen. I heard a respiratory specialist use the word winkle, and I was so tickled. I had to comment and thank them.
Outstanding.
Yes.
So the white chocolate mousse worked well, even though it didn't quite set. Rachel wanted more raspberry though to balance.
Yeah.
And Laura, good contrast in the colour. Mm-hmm. The glaze wasn't totally consistent in terms of the way it covered, but it was very well presented.
I did like how they were cut down the middle to look like boobies.
That was true.
It was like half cup bra.
So,
the lips sticking out. It was a very cold day.
The raspberry and malt was very well layered, but possibly too much biscuit. Darren said there wasn't too much biscuit; it was just too crispy. The coffee and the caramel. I like the way they had little disagreements, but they weren't really disagreements.
No.
Twice in this one. The coffee and the caramel was very perfectly balanced. And it was a silky smooth mousse. So then went to the judging, and this was probably the fastest judging we've seen. I mean, obviously because it's a limited one, but it was Sandra.
It was, and
again, I think the reason why Sandra went home was because there was no That Science.
Yeah,
and so her show was discontinued. What else was she doing?
Look, Sandra, you didn't bring out the goggles. There wasn't even like a hint of
no liquid nitrogen.
No liquid nitrogen. Not even...
No vest.
No.
Where was your vest?
No tongs needed to...
So Adam wins Star Baker, and Sandra unfortunately goes home at the semi-final. But again, she's had an amazingly good season.
Absolutely. Look,
and the last couple of weeks have been her best weeks.
Yeah, and she's been a joy to watch. And look, she was one of the early ones that I'm like, well, she's definitely going to be top 4.
And she got a Star Baker, which is what she wanted. Yep. So... really good effort there from Sandra.
The galaxy of Star Bakers.
Indeed, she does. But we've now got our finalists.
Oh, yes, we do.
So we have our 3 finalists. We have Laura, we have Adam, and we have Alona.
We do. Again, 3 very strong bakers. It's anyone's game.
They've all got their strengths there. Adam, obviously, a technical wizard. Laura with her use of like really sort of good flavors.
Maybe he's a warlock. Like he's like, fuck the higher sorcery.
Clearly. Laura with her
You don't want a technical necromancer though. That's just resurrecting shit bakes.
No, you don't.
No.
Laura with her really good use of flavours and really good balance of flavours, and she's very good at those sorts of things. Alona with her very clean presentation and obviously being backed by Bernard.
Yes.
Look,
I think Alona has the most to lose because if she doesn't come back with a win, Bernard is going to be like...
Bernard kick her out.
Yeah, he's like, you left me. And where's my fancy cat food plate?
Exactly. That's all he wants. He wants a cat food plate.
She
wasn't there. She's not there to win a cake plate. She's there to win a cat food plate.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that she said, I'm going to get to bake 30 times inside the shed, which was my goal.
Oh, that's amazing.
But look, any of the 3 who win it is a worthy winner this year. It's a really, really strong group of bakers, and we're down to the last 3. So, that will do us this week.
Yeah, and then we'll just come back together for that bittersweet moment where we watch and see who wins.
Yeah, and then we've probably got a bunch more interviews to come, so prepare for those. We're probably talking to a few more people. We're not quite done yet. We've still got some people to catch up with.
Yeah.
So...
And Canadians due.
And then Canadians coming soon, and when Canadian turns up, we will definitely be here for that, and we will give everyone a bit of an idea of how to do that as well. And don't forget, Baking's Night of Nights.
Yes.
End of a season. Baking's Night of Nights will be coming up soon as well. So stay tuned for all that. We've still got plenty to go. We've still got a grand final to watch. So
Still open for a sponsor.
We're still always open for a sponsor.
Look, we're still, in negotiations with the location. So if you've got any suggestions,
yep.
If you've got any friends,
where would you like us?
The know?
Where would you like us to host the Vergies? I mean, look, they've got to be hosted somewhere.
On
Stately Beer Manor, of course, is still under police investigation anyway, so we can't go back there. Dapto Dogs won't have us back. No. Obviously, Regina, Saskatchewan is not an option. No. Tuvalu's more underwater than it was last time we were there. The cabana was trampled by mammoths.
Look, I hear that
Sydney Harbour only works on New Year's Eve, and it's too early for that.
There's a retail shop down in Melbourne that has recently become available.
That's a good idea. I think we might make a phone call to a certain Mr. Purchase and see if he's still got that space for a couple of weeks, because that might be an option as well. Yeah. Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we'll catch you all for the grand final.
I will winkle it out of you.